The day of the baptism of Rus was celebrated in Ukraine. On July 27th, the Great Cross Procession of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church took place. The holiday of the baptism of Rus is a special day for the Church. As his Beatitude Onufri said, it is the birthday of our people. But on this day, we also clearly see who the believing Ukrainian people support and who do not. The Ukrainian Orthodox Church announced that over 350,000 believers participated in the Great Cross Procession 2021, which appears even more than in previous years. And if one views the aerial footage of the cross procession, it is easy to confirm this figure. One can see just an endless sea of people. The entire width of the street from the Vladimir hill to the Lavra was filled with a continuous stream of crosswalkers. When the head of the column entered the Lavra, a lot of believers were still descending from the Vladimir hill. Some publications even cited a figure of 400,000, but the police traditionally lowered the number of participants to 55,000. On July 28th, a cross procession and a prayer service of the Oku took place on the Vladimir hill. Earlier, Sergei Dumenko said that there would be no cross procession due to the pandemic, but it did take place. From the St. Michael Cathedral, supporters of the Oku came to the Vladimir hill and held their prayer service there. To say that it was in great contrast to the cross procession of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church is to say nothing. It's like comparing an ocean and a stream. We will not name any numbers. Who the Ukrainians are with can be seen on the screen. But this is an objective reality. In our country, it is often not the main one because the main reality is virtual. In this reality, the situation is completely different. Recently, all the mainstream media in Ukraine spread information that, according to the polls conducted by the private company Kyiv International Institute of Sociology, most of Ukrainians, that is 58%, consider themselves members of the Oku and go to the churches of this structure, and only 25% identify themselves with the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, that is half as much. A number of opposition media say that the office of the president was involved in organizing this opinion poll. Whether this is true or not, we do not know, but the president personally commented on the Great Cross Procession of the UOC, but at the same time he looked very irritated and dissatisfied. The cross procession and its organizers came in for heavy criticism of the president. He said that mostly elderly people walked in the cross procession, that the believers had not been provided with water, that they had spent the night at the fence of the Lavra, and was outraged that the organizers had not provided masks to the pilgrims.
Вчора у нас була хода. Хода була в Україні, 55 тисяч. Люди, там в більшості похилого віку. Треба бути обережними. Вони повинні були йти всі в масках. Хоча б так. Я масок там не бачу, з того відео, що я бачу. Да? Вони організовано приїжджають на автобусах. Організовано. Їх звозять. А те, що в Лаврі і біля Лаври люди ночували, проводили ніч. Яка велика кількість людей похилого віку. Треба було організувати, де люди ніч проводять, щоб люди були в масках. Поліція давала навіть просто воду, у них не було просто питної води.
These are very strange statements by Zelensky about the UOC and far from the first. Quite recently, after a prayer standing of 20,000 believers in defense of their church near the Verkhovna Rada and the office of the president, Zelensky confused them with a rally of the opposition platform, called them grandmothers in yellow caps and said that something is wrong in the church.
Там знаходяться бабулі і діти. Ви бачили, да? В жовтих кепочках. ОПЗЖ. Щось там в церкві знов не те. І так випадково всі приймаються цим питанням, що випадково тисячі бабуль прийшли в жовтих кепочках ОПЗЖ. Як це виглядає?
However, let's return to Zelensky's comments on the cross procession. His words are easy to refute. So, about the lack of water.
У них не було просто питної води. Поліція роздавала просто питну воду.
According to the official information of the UOC, the participants had an abundant supply of water. As the secretary of the Kyiv Diocese of Kyiv City told us, only in the Lavra there were pallets with 44,000 bottles of water, another 5,000 were on the Vladimir hill. Also, the Kyiv authorities provided 2 water tankers. Therefore, alas, the president was misled. As regards spending the night at the Lavra,
Біля Лаври люди ночували, проводили ніч.
absolutely all pilgrims were provided with shelter and food. As in previous years, in the current year each pilgrim was attached to a certain Kyiv temple, so all the crosswalkers were ensured night accommodation and meal. Mattresses were laid out directly on the floor of the temples, true though the conditions were not luxurious, but no one slept near the fence. The most painful issue is quarantine restrictions.
Вони повинні були йти всі в масках, хоча б так.
Let's listen to Metropolitan Anthony, UOC Chancellor.
На жаль, хвороба ще зовсім не відійшла. Ми замірюємо температуру у всіх, щоб дійсно якось обмежити людей хворіючих. І просимо всіх бути обов'язково в масках. Все це робиться для того, щоб ми проявили свою любов до ближнього.
True, most of the believers walked in 35-degree heat without masks. But are the organizers to blame for this? Of course not. Well, a question to Vladimir Zelensky. Let's recall that quite recently, on July 18th, there was a mass meeting of uniats in Zarvanitsa. Is there anyone here wearing masks? No. On July 7th, the OKU summoned its supporters to the monastery at the Cossack graves. Is there someone wearing masks here? No. Now let's take a look at the concerts that take place in the stadiums. On July 26th, a concert of Max Korsh took place in Odessa with 45,000 spectators. Is there someone wearing masks here? No. Even more people came to Monatic's concert on June 17th. Is there someone wearing masks here? No. From the 5th to 11th of July, the Atlas Weekend Festival was held in Kyiv, which was attended by about 600,000 people. Do we see someone wearing masks? No. Well, the last point. According to Zelensky, believers of the UOC in the open air and in the heat should go up the hill wearing a mask, while the president himself, together with a journalist, is sitting in a closed room without any mask. Are there double standards here? Yes. It turns out that Zelensky criticizes only the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. Why? Because that's the policy. On August 24th, at the invitation of Zelensky, the head of Fenar, Patriarch Bartholomew, arrives in Ukraine. And he wants to see the correct church picture where the OKU enjoys full support while the UOC does not exist altogether. Well, such a picture does not add up at all. But the opposite is true, and we can only sympathize with Zelensky because he needs to solve his own political tasks. In particular, to win the favor of the United States, which openly patronize both the OKU and Fenar. But the truth does not change because of these tasks. And the only truth is that the Ukrainian Orthodox Church unites millions of people countrywide. This is the canonical church of our entire nation. And it will remain so regardless of the political environment, tasks and ambitions of individual structures, politicians, or even presidents.